Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Chiron square opposition or inconjunct one's natal Black Moon Lilith. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Chiron, they can be about physical and emotional wounds and suffering, depleted self-worth and self-esteem, and also helping and healing others. When transit Chiron is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Black Moon Lilith, well, it may manifest in, well, first I'm going to be kind of rude. I'm going to elaborate on when I say basically adverse aspect, okay? Squares and oppositions, of course, those aspects are negative and adverse in astrology. Now, when you have an inconjunct aspect is neutral. But a neutral aspect can have good and bad qualities, and coupled with the fact that an inconjunct can often require an adjustment or transition, and that in turn can cause some exasperation and tension. So basically, collectively, I do see this as an adverse transit. Anyway, when transit Chiron basically makes an adverse aspect to one's natal Black Moon Lilith, well, it may manifest in physical and emotional wounds and suffering, depleted self-esteem, self-worth, and also helping and healing others that may conflict with really the negative manifestation or the dark side that's connected with the Black Moon Lilith placement. It could be that if you're trying to help and assist others in some way, shape, or form, and if you're dealing with the real negative energy that's associated with the Black Moon Lilith, then obviously it'd be harder to do such. If you have the natal Black Moon Lilith, say in let's say you have it in Virgo, it could be very worrisome, anxious energy. There might be some hypochondriac, if that, I don't know if that applies anymore, if that's the word that's used, germophobic tendencies. I don't know if that's used either, but you understand what I'm saying. That night you might be trying to deal with those issues. Let's say if the natal Black Moon Lilith is in Scorpio, it could be some compulsive or obsessive or fixated energy that you're dealing with. And the thing is also the Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio, as an example, can also be somewhat of a provocateur that might try to incite negative responses from others to get them in trouble. And if somebody's dealing with that energy, obviously they may not be in a situation where where it's conducive to helping and healing others at this time, where you could be dealing with physical and emotional wounds and suffering that might make it difficult for you to even embrace the level of the placement, which can be attained if you're able to get through the negative element of the Black Moon Lilith position. Now, anyway, another thing is, this is also, the Black Moon Lilith can also be nefarious energy. And if you have been, involved in something that is nefarious, or there's something, it could just be something in your life that's such, it may not necessarily be coming from you. If you have your natal Black Moon Lilith, say it's in the 4th house, say it's in Leo in the 4th house in your chart, it could be dealing, with a very domineering or overbearing, arrogant family member that is making things very difficult for you. And it might be something where naturally it could be more difficulty in helping and assisting others in the process if you are dealing with such at this time. And the thing about this is too, the Black Moon Lilith is also associated, it could be associated with a formidable adversary. And the thing about it is, you might be dealing with issues which is connected with Chiron, with depleted self-worth and self-esteem as a result, perhaps, of not being able to deal with the enemy, with somebody that you see as a powerful enemy or adversary at this time. If you have the natal Black Moon Lilith in Libra or the 7th house in your chart, it could be a legal adversary, someone that might have filed a lawsuit against you. If it's something in your 10th house, it could be something, Black Moon Lilith is in your 10th house as another example, or Capricorn. It Could be somebody that might be affecting your status, your reputation, your public image, and it might be difficult to deal with this. If it's harder to deal with this, and it might be, if that's the case, then naturally the depleted self-worth and self-esteem could be hand in hand with it at this time, and it might be causing more emotional suffering than usual. Now, the Black Moon Lilith is also associated with that side that you don't want unveiled. It's that side that you want to keep in the dark, that you want to keep concealed, that you're afraid to bring out, because naturally the repercussions you might face as a result of it coming out. So if something does come out that's connected with your natal Black Moon Lilith placement, it could be result in more emotional suffering at this time, and it might be, if there's already diminished or depleted self-worth or self-esteem, it might be exacerbating that at this time, and you're not going to really be in that frame of mind to really be helping and healing others as well. If there's something, say if the natal Black Moon Lilith is in Taurus, it might be something, it could be a greedy or avaricious quality, or something where you may have made monetary promises to somebody, but you didn't follow through on them, and it might be something that you wanted to keep in the dark, and you didn't want that to come out, and if it does, then there's more emotional suffering could take place as a result of that. Now, another thing too, Black Moon Lilith is also connected with people that have played a provocative or prominent role in your life. And the thing about this is, when you have this transit, if you're trying to do things where it's helping or healing or assisting other people at this time, that could conflict with the people that are figuring prominently in your life. It might be a distraction if you're trying to heal your own wounds, or if you're dealing with some physical suffering, if you're in some kind of abject misery at the time of this transit, strong physical pain and suffering. Naturally, it's going to be harder for you to deal with people that have figured prominently or played that provocative role in your life scheme at this time. If the natal Black Moon Lilith, say, is in Gemini, enter the third house, it could be someone that was prominent in your early education, or was figured strongly in your communications. Could be short journeys as well, and assimilating information. Now, also too, the Black Moon Lilith can also be connected with obsession and fixation. So the thing about this is, it's guard against being overly fixated and obsessed with an emotional, with physical suffering, at this time, to the point where it could dominate, your existence and thoughts or what have you. And the thing is too, or there might be you might be overly fixated or obsessed with trying to improve diminished or depleted self-worth or self-esteem at this time. Now, the Black Moon Lilith is also connected with trauma, whether it be physical or emotional. And the thing is, what's bad about adverse, when you're talking about basically adverse transits, they're not good anyway. But from a physical standpoint or vantage point, this could be negative, because Chiron is associated with physical wounds and suffering. The Black Moon Lilith can be connected with trauma, which doesn't exclude physical trauma or abuse. And it can be a time where physical suffering may be intensified as a result. It could be a situation where you have one, physical suffering coming from one end might be exacerbating something else. And I saw something online one time where it was something with the toes, which is connected with Pisces, may exacerbate something associated with Virgo, like the spleen. You'd have to look that up and confirm that on the internet. But there are times when you could have one situation could be negatively, could be interacting with another part of the physical body, and it could be a time where this could be happening. Black Moon Lilith is also connected with death. And the thing about this transit is it might be a time, whether it's a recent death or something from some time ago, you might be lamenting over it now, and it might be a time where it might be causing more of an emotional upsetment and emotional turmoil more so than usual, and it may be harder to cope with it at this time more so than usual. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway. There may also be difficulty in helping and healing others due to being obsessed or fixated on something. Now, if the natal Black Moon Lilith, say, is an Aquarius in the 8th house as an example, it could be perhaps cyber, which is Aquarius, it could be sex, which is the 8th house. Now, physical and emotional wounds may make it more difficult and cumbersome to embrace the higher level of the placement of the Black Moon Lilith. Now, let's say if the Black Moon Lilith is in Virgo in the 4th house, it could be doing something where you might be able to extrapolate or project, which is Virgo. It could be where you want to go in the latter part of life, where you want to be, where you're projecting as far as monetarily or what have you in that latter part of life, which is associated with the 4th house. Also, too, depleted self-esteem may adversely affect matters with people that are prominent in your life. Depleted self-esteem, of course, associated with Chiron. And people that play a provocative or prominent role in your life is associated with the Black Moon Lilith. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal Black Moon Lilith is in Aries in the 12th house, it could be a person that might have helped you combat or confront, which is Aries, hidden adversaries, which is the 12th house, people that may have been posing or impersonating as friends, and they were secretly enemies. And now, another thing too, another way this transit may manifest, it could be about the pain that runs deepest, which is Chiron. It may make it harder to really to cope, with maybe dealing with and could be dealing with a powerful enemy at this time. Dealing with maybe even the dark side of the placement at this time, and if the natal let's say that the transit Chiron is in going back to Aries in the 12th house, it could be dealing with some situation where maybe there's lack of initiative and enterprise, which is Aries, Chiron and Aries, let's say, might be tied in with secret sorrows, which is the 12th house, or not having the courage to work through limitations could be another example. Transit Chiron and Aries in the 12th house. And anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.